Welcome back everyone to Transfer Talk. A different episode today, a little bit, well, I was going to say unique and special, but the reason for that, it's Formula E, which I know a lot of you don't want to hear that, but I've definitely noticed over the course of Season 5, plenty of you giving the series a chance, and what a season it was. Of course, there will be season reviews coming out over the next couple of weeks. I'm trying to work with Formula E to get something pretty special for you guys to cover the entire season, so hang on for that a little bit, but while the season is still fresh in our minds and the hype slowly builds for Season 6, driver transfers is exactly what's on the cards today. Silly season is in full swing in Formula 1. It's also in full swing for Formula E. So today, it's going to be a little bit different because usually in Transfer Talk, we're talking about one seat, one driver. Well, today you can see on screen 24 seats next season in Formula E, and we're going to try and place a driver in every single one of them. Now, this on screen now, this is kind of how we're going to do things today because there are so many seats to get through, and I'd like to be able to upload this in some kind of decent quality if I can for you guys, so I can't make it too complicated. So we've stripped back the layers just a little bit, you know, like an onion. We've stripped back some of those layers, and we're just going to take it nice and simple, seat by seat, deciding what we want. Hopefully that makes sense. But on screen now are the confirmed drivers for next season, and as you can see, there isn't very many of them at all. Audi have confirmed 2 of their drivers, so the whole team. Lucas Di Grassi remains with the team after almost squeezing a second championship in the final round of New York. Daniel Abt, who was also right in that championship hunt till the final weekend, has also remained at the team. There are a few question marks on whether they should have kept him last year. I think he did a solid job, to be totally honest with you, so I'm pretty happy for him that he has stayed with the team. So Audi, we're not going to talk about them today very much at all. Likewise with Virgin, they're keeping Sam Bird and Robin Freins. Both of them, at different points of the season, had really good years. Bird was the guy at the beginning of the season, smashing it, and looked like he'd be in the championship hunt. Freins struggled early doors, but in that second half of the season picked up 2 victories and really helped the team late on. So, makes sense, and I understand why they've kept both of those drivers. Venturi, they have also kept both their drivers, which, to be honest with you, I'm a little bit... I'm in the middle about, to be honest with you. Felipe Massa, a huge draw for loads of fans this season. So many fans made the switch, not necessarily switch, but made the transition from Formula 1 to try Formula E this year because there were guys like Felipe Massa, like Pascal Wehrlein, Stoffel Van Dorn coming to the championship. So I can see from that side of things why they've kept him. Mortara got the team's first victory. So on that side of things, I understand why they've kept both drivers. However, in the championship, wasn't exactly plain sailing, very inconsistent from both drivers, and at the beginning of the year, I personally felt Mortara was very lucky to keep his seat. So to see both of them confirmed so early for next season has surprised me a little bit, but in saying that, I'm impressed that the team have thrown in all their cards, thrown in all their chips, and said, this is our driver. We're going to start preparation for next year early. We're going to try and get ahead of the game. And you know what? Taking a different strategy to the other teams, I can't really argue with that. So Susie Wolf, the team principal, hats off to you. Let's see how it pans out, though, because I think they're both going to have to step up their game for next season. And our final confirmed team, our new team for next season are... well, this is going to cause debate for sure. I call it Porsche, but I know that's just hurt so many people's ears, so apologies from my end, but Porsche, I believe is how you should say it. So, a little bit like Esteban Ocon, a little bit like, I'm trying to think of other examples, but Ocon's always the good one. I change how I pronounce it. So, hopefully you can understand. Hopefully, Robert Kubica, you know, it is what it is, as they say on Love Island. Apologies again. I'm not making many friends today, I am guessing. But back to the topic at hand, Porsche. Andre Lotterer, the signing of the season. Lotterer, I mean, Neil Yarni, the other driver they signed him way back, just as season 5 was starting. Porsche announced this deal. Lotterer, they only announced as the season ended. Lotterer, if you're not aware, was with Jean-Eric Vergne at Techeetah last season. That won the teams and drivers championship. So a huge gamble from Lotterer to leave the team. But he joins Porsche, and he's been a Porsche driver for many years. Has won Le Mans with Porsche, the World Endurance Championship. This guy doesn't mess about when it comes to Porsche. He's not young. He's in his mid-30s, and this is a move that suggests to me he's going to Porsche for the long run. I do not expect Porsche, a little bit like Mercedes that you can see on screen in the top right-hand corner. Those two come into Formula E next season. Mercedes, it's a little bit different because they've had a taster year this season in season 5 with HWA. But Porsche, this will be their first season. So I'm not convinced they're going to be winning next year, but perhaps 2 or 3 seasons down the line, potentially. And that's what Lotterer's got to be looking at, hoping that a couple of years down the line, he can be that team leader and that figurehead within the team. So that is your confirmed drivers, and we've now put a little green box next to them, just so we can all keep track, we can all stick together, and hopefully understand where we're at. The new drivers that have been put on your screen are the drivers I'm 99% sure are going to be confirmed, and depending on what sources you read, already have been confirmed. So Nissan Edams, Buemi and Rowland, I think that's almost 100% in my eyes. 99.999% that I think those two will stay. I don't think the team are looking at any other drivers. I don't think the drivers are looking at any other team, to be totally honest with you. Buemi has been with the Edams team since season 1. Raced almost every single race. Missed a couple at the end of season 3, thanks to, I think that was the WEC at the time, so did miss out a couple of races then, but apart from that, has raced with the team in every single season. 2nd overall in the championship last year. Massive surprise. That was. The form the team had at the end of the year was awesome. So very impressed with Buemi. So I don't see him or the team wanting to move on. And Ollie Rowland, for his rookie year, well, for the first half of the season, I think outperformed Sebastian Buemi. So I think a similar sort of situation. I don't think Rowland or Buemi or the team want to really split up. So pretty straightforward, if you ask me. We'll talk about the spare seat at Techeetah in a moment. Likewise with the 2 BMW drivers. Likewise with one of the Mahindra, the 2 Jaguar, the 2 Dragon and the Neo driver. But the other drivers, I think, are pretty nailed on. Jerome D'Ambrosio moved to Mahindra last season, and while it was Wehrlein who had that little bit of extra flair, it was D'Ambrosio who early doors picked up a victory in Marrakesh, was fighting for the championship for a good chunk of the season, was leading after we left Rome, but was one of those drivers that got caught out massively by the qualifying system halfway through the year, lost all his momentum, and come the final few rounds was not even anywhere close to championship contention. Solid season for D'Ambrosio, so I'm pretty sure the team will want to keep him. I'm also sure they will desperately want to hang on to Pascal Wehrlein. We're definitely going to talk about him in a moment, because I don't think Wehrlein necessarily wants to stay with the team, but we'll talk about that in a moment. The final 2 drivers, I'm confident they're going to be staying. Oliver Turvey, I believe he already has a contract, but there's been no official team announcement about it just yet, but there is a contract there, so that's nailed on, to be honest with you. Neo last in the team championship last season, a pretty torrid year for them, to be honest with you. Considering they make electric supercars and hypercars, you'd think Formula E is their territory, but it just wasn't to be in Season 5. And I just hope for them they started development early on the Season 6 car, and that'll make a big chunk of difference. But not looking so good. Neo's other driver last year, Tom Dillman, the only driver to race in every single round and not pick up a point. I like Tom Dillman. Difficult season for him. So it's hanging in the balance on whether they will remain and keep him for next season. And for the final team, we've not even mentioned in this video, Mercedes. Now, I've called them Mercedes EQ. no official title on what they're going to be called, but that's the kind of name that's been rumoured about at the moment, so Mercedes. Last season, raced under the name HWA Race Lab, so it was a tester year, just testing the water, really, of Formula E, and it was a difficult season for the team. Stoffel Vandoorne did pick up a podium, picked up a pole position as well. Sounds great on the surface, but the car did not have pace on the majority of weekends. Vandoorne, I'd be very, very, very surprised if the team didn't keep Stoffel. Again, a little bit like Turvey, a contract is there. We're just waiting for an official announcement, but it's pretty much nailed on. Their other driver, Gary Paffett, I'm not too sure about. I think Mercedes have other drivers within their young driver development system that I think would be better suited to that drive. Paffett himself drove with Mercedes in DTM, was a double DTM world champion, but I don't think his season in Formula E did him any favours. Alright, we're going to continue, and now, the drivers we just spoke about, purple squares. We've now got blue squares and red squares, and we're going to start with the blue squares, because they're the ones that I'm a little bit more confident about. Let's say, 50-60%, and the red squares, there's not much thought behind the red squares, but the blue squares. Let's start with both BMW drivers. So, the big catalyst in the market is the Techeetah seat, and at the moment, let's start there. Let's start with the Techeetah seat, because I was going to talk about Da Costa, but it's really, the space Lotterer has left has caused chaos. So many names involved with that seat. At the moment, the front runner appears to be Antonio Felix da Costa, the guy who has stayed with Andretti since season 1 in Formula E. Did pick up his second ever victory at the beginning of last season in Saudi Arabia, but an up and down season has put questions in his mind whether he wants to stay with the team. And can I blame him? Not really. But in saying that, I feel for him, he's got to stay with BMW for at least another year. They finally got that car right. And last year, I think if the qualifying system wasn't like it was, they would have had a really good shot at the championship. And they did right up into the final weekend. So to move away from the team now, to me, seems slightly strange when BMW are going to continue to pour vast amount of resources into the sport. And do Techeetah have a similar sort of budget? They do at the moment, but 2 or 3 years down the line, I'm not too sure. So for me, for Da Costa, that's a high-risk manoeuvre. High risk, so I don't see it happening. Also, at Techeetah, you're going to be looking at guys like Mitch Evans, Pascal Wehrlein, guys who massively outperformed their cars last season. Pascal Wehrlein, I wanted to talk about quite a bit today, to be honest with you, but we've got so many seats to get through, I'm trying to go as quickly as I can. For Wehrlein, he will want a top Formula E seat, whether that's Techeetah, whether that's BMW, a trip back to Mercedes, Nissan even. He'll just want a big Formula E seat, and I don't think Mahindra now can offer him that. Mahindra just hasn't been reliable enough over these past 2 seasons. It's why Felix Rosenqvist left and went to IndyCar, and I think a similar thing will happen with Pascal Wehrlein. The only difference with Wehrlein, though, and that is not on your screen, is that I think he will go back to Formula 1. Has been circling in the Formula 1 paddock for the last couple of Grand Prix now. He's a Ferrari Academy driver, and I'm confident he will get a seat at Haas F1. I'm pretty confident. So I don't see him returning to Formula E in Season 6. But he had a strong year, and I think he'll be missed in the paddock. Had that little bit of flair about him, and you never quite knew what he was going to be able to do. So I think Wehrlein, for me anyway, is out of the picture in Formula E next season. So who does that leave? I mentioned Evans there, but again, I think that's a brave move. Jaguar, the car wasn't brilliant last season. I've got to put my hands up to that. He did get a victory and then a second place late on in this season. That was Rome and Switzerland respectively. But for Evans, again, he's been with this team since the day one. Would it be sensible to move away? I don't think so, to be honest with you. That team has only got better and better each year. How long are Techeetah going to stay at the top? I don't see Evans going there. So, I've put in Romain Grosjean. To be honest with you, all of the guys in red, as I just mentioned, it's a stab in the dark, really. But I think Grosjean will work his way into Formula E next season. A little bit like what I said about Wehrlein. I think Wehrlein will be going to Formula 1. I think Grosjean will try and go the other way. Will Techeetah want Grosjean? He's a bit of a crash master. We've all got to put our hands up and say that. But so was Andre Lotterer in his first season. And there's no denying Grosjean, on his day, can be one of the best. He's definitely in qualifying in Formula 1. Has proven before, especially with his days with Lotus. That's where he can perform at his best. So in a championship like Formula E, I think he could do very well. It's just whether the team want to take that risk on a driver who's getting on a bit now in his career. They were happy to have that with Lotterer and were happy to keep Lotterer. So the question marks whether they'll go with Grosjean or they'll go with a younger driver, Guanyan Zhou, smashing it in Formula 2 this season. The Chinese rookie has tested for Techeetah before. I would love to see him get that seat. I just think he's a Renault young driver, and I think Renault potentially will want to keep him in Formula 2 for a second season and to see how he can develop, because I think he actually is quite a special talent. I've been massively impressed with him in Formula 2. That would be a mega steal for Techeetah if they could bring him in. I think they'd love to have him drive their car. Would be a driver for the future as well, so that makes sense, but it's just about if they want to get results now or they are looking down the line. So I've gone with Grosjean, but guys like Guanyan Zhou, Nick De Vries, James Rossiter has tested for them before, could all be in the mix. So Techeetah, that's the catalyst. That's the seat that's caused chaos everywhere. And as I've mentioned before, I think one day, perhaps even next season, Fernando Alonso should consider Formula E. And I'll scratch that. I think will consider Formula E, because I don't think he'll be going back to Formula 1 at all. I think he is, well, I was going to say hurt so many people, but politically he has not aligned himself well in Formula 1 at all. And I think there's a chance in Formula E he could do not only some real damage in the championship to whatever team he goes to, but I think that would be such a massive political draw for Formula E. I think there might be a team that might take a stab with Fernando Alonso. He's going to cause upsets, he's going to cause dramas, but I almost guarantee anyone who hasn't seen Formula E before and who follows Formula 1, if Alonso went there, then their eyes would be opened massively. He's not on my grid for next year, but I would love to see him there. And I think there may just be a few phone calls to Techeetah from Fernando Alonso. There may be. But we'll leave that one there for today. It's something we're going to talk about in the future, because it's something I feel really strongly about. That'd be brilliant for Alonso and brilliant for Formula E. So I think it will happen eventually, but not quite next season. Not quite next season. We'll have to wait and see. But we've gone with Grosjean, but it's an uneducated guess, shall we say. I struggled to get that out there, but it's not the best of guesses. So what does that mean then? Grosjean's gone in at Techeetah, so that means Evans stays at Jaguar. Again, I don't see that changing. Da Costa stays at BMW. I don't see that changing. But both those two drivers, teammates, a little bit more open. We'll start with Alex Lynn at Jaguar. Had a really strong end to the season. Could have picked a podium in New York, but his car broke down. I think proved himself that he deserves another proper chance at Formula E, and I think the team will keep him based on his pace, which at the end of the day, that's what you should base a racing driver on, and how quick they are. So yeah, Lynn I think's I'm pretty confident with Alex Lynn. I'm also pretty confident with a move from Dragon to BMW for Maxi Gunter. Had an awful start to the season, was dropped by Dragon for Felipe Massa, but when he came back, he was on fire. Destroyed his teammate Jose Maria Lopez, who has vast Formula E and racing experience in general. Has tested this week for BMW. I think they could make a sneaky move. Alex Sims didn't impress this season. Was very unlucky, to be fair. All racing drivers are unlucky at some stage, and it was just that this season, almost every weekend didn't go his way. The final weekend finally did, and he got his first podium and pole position, but I just have this gut feeling Sims might be moved on. Mercedes, we've gone with Esteban Ocon. That's also a bit of a brave shout. I think they would, well, Formula 1 team this is now, won't want to let him go just yet. Rumours they might let him go to Haas. Rumours they'll let him go anywhere just to get a seat. But I think the more sensible thing, at least for one more year, is to hold on to him, put him in Formula E, hope for the best. And to be honest with you, I don't really see anyone else going to Mercedes unless they take a gamble on one of their really young drivers. I don't see that happening. Unless they keep Gary Paffett, I don't see that happening. So Esteban Ocon and Van Dorn, what a team that would be in Formula E. And I think it's quite practical and quite a high chance of happening, to be honest with you. And the rest of the drivers on the grid, I think it's anyone's guess. Dragon, both drivers. I've gone with Giotto and Piquet Jr. Piquet Jr. a champion. No rumours of him coming back, but I think one of the teams, even though he had a terrible season, you'd like to think they'd give him a chance. Maybe. Also, plenty of guys in Formula 2 that, to be honest, this is going to sound a bit harsh, but have overstayed their welcome a little bit. Luca Giotto, Nick De Vries, drivers with a pretty strong talent pool. I don't think we'll get to Formula 1. We'll have to look at championships like Formula E. So I think a couple of them, Giotto, De Vries, Delatraz, Latifi, I think at least two of those guys might just be able to wiggle their way in. But I want to know your thoughts. I didn't want to spend all day talking to you guys about this, and we've been going for quite a while now, so I want to know your thoughts. You've heard mine. Let me know who you think should fit into the Season 6 grid. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.